Woganomics. We're gonna tell people about our observations of the School of Woganomics this morning.
Yes.
And Woganomics 101, the golden rules of Woganomics.
Yes. So let me just open it up so I can see us on Facebook, and then I'd
like to, while you're doing that, I'd like to introduce Bert. I'm in Egypt at the moment, and that's Bert behind me. He's a camel with one hump, not two.
Just one hump?
He's the one hump camel. And the pyramids behind me as well.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Every morning we're gonna try to rotate our countries that I'm in. So I'm going to be flying all around the world. Tomorrow we'll do Greece.
Ah, beautiful. Okay.
All right, let's talk about Woganomics.
Woganomics. Good morning, Luke. So, and the pyramids behind me as well. Perfect. So, might as well go through the history of it.
We're gonna try to rotate our countries that I'm in. I've got a really bad reverb coming back, dude.
Hang on.
Just turn off your Facebook content that you've got, please.
All right, let's talk about Woganomics. Good morning, Luke.
That's where the comment.
I got really bad reverb. Shut down your comment, please. Now? Yep, gone. Let's talk.
Okay, because I got audio through Zoom then. Anyway, all right. So, Woganomics, this probably originated maybe about 4 years ago. We're sort of breaking into that sort of commercial market, and there was a lot of Italians and Greeks owned properties on the northern beaches, and doing a lot of lease deals with them at the time, and still being quite fresh in the game. And obviously, you always hear of other trainers. They've got these sales negotiation tactics and this, and they say this, and all these fancy one-liners and all this. And then I was like, when I was implementing it into the commercial world, it was just like, that was like one piece of the whole pie. And what I was learning from these guys or seeing what they did, I was just like, shit, it's amazing. I've never heard of any of this in the book, just their attitudes, how even like in negotiations, how there's different phases of a negotiation and staging it, i.e. you may be in a lease deal where there may be like 10 points to the negotiation where you got price, which is the rent free, how long the lease is, the annual increases, the bond and the guarantor, where a lot of it's where landlords got really smart. They wouldn't necessarily when a tenant was making the offer, they're really only focusing on that rent. And so when a landlord would either...
Okay, but before we get into that, can we just explain what the School of Woganomics is? Let's before we use specific examples. Okay. So in commercial, in residential, we meet European owners, and they're Greek, and they could be Italian, or they could be Egyptian or Lebanese. And these guys have a common strain between all of them. So these guys do things in a certain way, it's almost like a hybrid of how other people do it. And then we started drawing parallels between these guys going, hang on a sec, we've got to name this. Because it was like, these guys are cutting the corners, making more money, thinking, outwitting, outsmarting, outfoxing everyone, all of other landlords, other tenants, and people out there. We're going, shit, how the hell do these guys do it?
Yeah.
And I know when we were just talking before, you were saying the old trick of the flowers, and let's just give that as a starting example, very basic.
A good example was this landlord, client of ours. His son was telling us back in the day, you would have a bundle of flowers in one hand, bundle in the other. You'd have them together and be like $10 for a bundle of flowers. So then the person comes up to you like, yep, I'll grab the bundle for $10 and
take the money. He'd take the $10 first.
Of course, takes the money first. Yep, you get one bundle. There you go. Like, oh, I thought it was both. No, that's two bundles. I'm like, oh, like,
School of 101, School of Woganomics. There's an example. This is what we want to talk about.
yeah,
And these guys, and you know what? He's selling, 10 times, 20 times more flowers because they appear to be larger. People then commit by handing over their money, and he rightfully said, one bunch of flowers when he was there, and he rightfully gave them one bunch of flowers, and he rightfully had them in two separate hands. But most people will just go, oh, okay, fair enough, done.
yeah.
Some people say, no, I want the whole thing. He'd say no, but that would be like 1%. So he was actually doing so many more deals because he's wowing people. It was just a Woganomics move.
Yeah, and I think what that is, and when we relate it to negotiations, don't assume, because anything that's been assumed, it will be negotiated against. It will be negotiated. So you assumed it was both of them, but if you ask, going, is it one or two? Like then you. So for example, if you go, I make an offer of rent of $1,000 a week and a 6-month free rent, and they just said, yep, they just counter on the rent, but they don't say anything. That's one thing I learned. Like, they focus on one thing at a time. The other person assumes because I haven't brought it up that point, it's been agreed. But then they got that agreed, and then they work on that point, and you can't go back on something you've agreed. So, for example, you may do that rent thinking you may agree to that rent because you're getting that rent free, and because it wasn't not agreed, you assumed the 6 months was okay, so you agreed to pay that rent, and then they go, okay, and now it's 1 month free rent, and you can't really go back on something that was agreed, the price, on a term that you just assumed was agreed. And I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned, and I reckon I could write 2 chapters of it in the book on scenarios where tenants, even myself, and as an agent, and that's where I was like, I got to fucking remember this, because I'm not just negotiating for the tenants, for the landlord, you're negotiating for the whole deal. And some tenants are just, and then they get a bit angry at it, and then they can walk away from deals. Like, I've lost deals not understanding the book of Woganomics. That's why I wrote it in my head.
So Woganomics, from these landlords and these owners and buyers and sellers that we deal with, what are the other things that these guys do? What are the other golden rules of Woganomics? So these guys are, like I say, it's not really, it's shrewd, but it's not deceptive.
No, not at all. And I don't want anyone to get that mixed up. It's just smart, and it's fucking really impressive to watch. I love it. Like, but also it's the attitude. So, for example, an offer will never get accepted until the buyer or tenant's walked away. They don't care. It's just, that's what it is. Even if they wanted $1 million and you go, there's $1 million. No, came too easy. Like, there's more in the tank, basically. So
another golden rule of the Woganomics,
here's number 2,
is that these guys they want to hear first call, second call, third call, buyers walking away. Then they know they've pushed it. Golden rule. So even if they get a fantastic offer, they will automatically just say no.
Correct. Yep.
If it's a phenomenal offer, no. Just out of principle, what Woganomics 101, they would just say no. And then they will make sure they squeeze that lemon for every single drop out of it. So if I use a lemon as an example, they don't just want the lemon to put a couple of drops in their tea. They want to make sure every lemon they cut open, they get every drop out of. Woganomics 101, golden rule.
Yeah, Insta's very echoey because it's playing through the TV and that mic. Let me do my AirPod on Insta, and that may reduce it. Need headphones. Okay. Let me know on Insta if that's better, because now you're on my headphone because I got the TV for Zoom. Okay. So, and because I think the best way to think about it as well, like, and they're right. it's the risk to reward ratio. The reward is so much better pushing. So it's not like you're dealing with, let's say, a ruler and you're bending it. And if it snaps, you've got no chance. It's fucked. It's broken. Yeah, that's better with the AirPod. Okay, cool. Thank you. Where with a buyer, let's face it, how many times does the buyer say, that's my final offer, that's my final offer? Even when a buyer walks away, they're not really gone. It's not like they've passed away. They're there. You go back to them and say, okay, now they'll do it. So for an owner, even an owner will hear, like, they'll hear, I've walked away 3 times before they get to that level. Or, and sometimes it needs time, like 3 days, and they haven't come back. Like it's pretty smart. It's like,
All right.
I get residential. It doesn't work a little bit like that because they generally may buy something else.
Let's motor through the rules. Woganomics 101, school golden lesson. Give us another one. They never sell.
Yeah, they never sell. They never need to sell.
They never sell. So what we notice with these our European owners and the lessons that they teach us is that they never sell. So when they buy a property, it is repeated again. So they play the long game. People, they are overnight successes, but it takes them 50 years.
And I think, and if you're an agent or you're buying, you hear, like, even what I've learned going, I'm not a seller, by them even like speaking to you, they're open to selling, but they're never selling. So you've just got to work double as hard, and it just allows them to open up getting those better offers, because you think, oh, they're not looking to sell. Even if they are, you always hear it. They don't need to sell. They don't want to sell. But by them talking to you as an agent, they're there to do a deal. And I think I made that mistake many times early on.
So Woganomics 101 golden rule. What other things do these guys do? I'm happy to talk to the audience as well if they have any tips.
Sorry, if anyone's right, I don't have comments because Zoom's playing Mark music sound, and so was Facebook. That's why it doubled up. So I had to drop Facebook. So
okay.
I got no comments. Sorry, guys. If that's why, if you're talking on Facebook, I don't see them. Otherwise, the audio.
No comments. So what else do we notice with these guys, Michael? The Woganomics 101 golden rules. They don't sell the properties. Yep. Can I say something which isn't particularly business? They're strong family people.
Oh yes. Yep.
These guys, the ultra successful Woganomics 101 authors, professors, masters, they are all family-based guys. None of them have a formal education.
Yeah.
Their education's on the street. So they're not doctors. They're not lawyers. They're generally terrifically undereducated in by way of university or by way of tertiary education, but they're terrifically educated by life.
Yes. And I think a big attitude is as well, and I was chatting to Bruno about it the other day, some money's better than no money. So
they love money. They love money.
And what I mean by that is a lot of owners can get caught up on what a property used to get, but it may be a different market, maybe a different period. Things change, adapt, and they're very good at reading the market, speaking to agents regularly. They're always speaking to agents. They're fucking so informal about maybe going to uni, but they are super educated about real estate and that market. They know where it is. So when they've got a tenant as much, or a prospective buyer, which there may not be a lot of them, they will still use the book of Woganomics to negotiate. They will not lose that deal, regardless if it's 30% lower than what it may have been rented for. Some money is better than no money. They structure
Woganomics 101 golden rule. Some money is better than no money.
Yes. What else?
Okay. What else another golden rule is they love a chat, which is just you did mention that just then. That's another rule. Woganomics 101 golden rule is they love a chat. They love a chat not just with anyone. They love it with someone that's got stuff in common that they want. So these advanced landlords that are property owners, buying a lot of property, not selling, renting a lot of property, they will, with us as real estate agents, they will suck our brain. They'll happily sit with us for half an hour or an hour and learn minimum, and learn. And that's their job.
Yeah.
So Woganomics 101 is get close to people that have what you want, and keep your mind open to them.
And that's vice versa, because you know what, and from that, and from our and my point of view as well, because someone may go, well, why would you spend an hour with a landlord who never sells? Going, yeah, because that IP and that knowledge and their strategies and how they negotiate, I learn. And then you can pass that into other deals as well and other clients as well. And then those clients are coming for me for that knowledge. Like, knowledge is key, educating. And if you want to, so that's a big one.
And they are a sphere of influence, these guys. They've got an enormous amount of power to influence family and friends, because a lot of family and friends will go to the authors of the Woganomics, and they'll ask them for advice. That's pretty powerful.
And they've all got gun lawyers.
Yeah.
They've got their army. And I don't mean like shrewd. I mean efficient. No, so what I mean, to go into more proper, they're quick. So you've got deals which you do a deal, takes 6 weeks to get the lease, or 10, or just slow. When there's a deal there, how quick does it move with answers, responses? Like, it's
big time,
very efficient. It's
they got their long-term banks. So School of Woganomics 101, another golden rule is that they've got their support army or support crew, or they got their generals and they got their sergeants in place around pardon?
They got their soldiers. Lawyer,
they're not, and they're probably a bit more than soldiers. They're almost like generals and sergeants that are around them. But that would be, like you said, a great lawyer, a great bank. School of Woganomics 101 golden rule. Another one is they've got to have a great bank behind you, or broker. Another Woganomics golden rule is have a great lawyer behind you, someone who's going to hold your hand. And in that, and another thing I noticed with School of Woganomics 101 is the people around these guys share the dream. They share the dream. So what I mean by that is they've got these people around them, know their family, know their friends, know their property ownerships and what they own. They've got the whole picture. It's almost like they've bought in. So these guys that are working, they're not working in isolation. They moved like an army. So, even to their wives are enormously supportive in School of Woganomics 101. Their wives are really, if we have a good think about some of these guys and girls that are that, their kids, their wives, their lawyers, their banks, they all move in sync with that one person. So Woganomics 101 is another golden rule, is you can't do it by yourself.
Correct. And short-term pain versus long-term gain. So
that's a big one.
That's probably the biggest one. Yeah. They're not thinking of the most money now. They're thinking most money long-term, and either setting it up, as you said, for the kids or the grandkids. So what I mean by that is, so let's a lease deal, for example, if you're a super tenant and they get that, and maybe great usage, but you're paying lower rent now, but if you're there, you're going to probably be there for a generation, or your setup is very long. They will cop a year free rent, or they will help.
That's incredible.
Get money if they've got the long term. If they feel that you are a long-term player in their portfolio, they will back you. And
Can I word another way? If anyone's looking at me, I'm in Egypt at the moment, and that's Bert the camel. Can I word it in another way?
Yes.
Woganomics 101. It's always an annuity-based model where they are annually clipping, monthly clipping, weekly clipping. It's not a model of feast or famine. So
yes.
a feast or famine model for anyone watching would be like a property developer. They do this big development, they make $10 million, and then they do nothing for 5 years after that.
Yeah.
The School of Woganomics 101, they're little deals.
Yes.
A lot of little deals, very consistent. So they're annuity-based model, and rent seems to fit right into that criteria really, really well. And like supporting what you just said, Michael, they will take a hit on up a year of rent if they've got 10 years coming. So it's an annuity-based model, Woganomics 101 golden rule.
Like the simplest thing going, and even a very easy analogy is like they'll take a little bit less per week in rent if they can get it.
Do you want to fix your light? You just did a little funny.
Yeah, no, it just turned off.
Just plug it in. Plug it in, mate. So School of Woganomics 101. It's annuity-based models. Can we just go back on some of these things that we've just spoken about?
Yeah,
that's right. Can we just go back on some of these things that we've just spoken about? We've got. Let's rehash.
Okay.
They don't sell.
They don't sell.
What else do these guys have in common?
The other one is they won't negotiate all what I meant by leaving things out, basically, they won't negotiate all points up at once. They do one by one and allow the buyer or the other person to assume. I think that's that one I sort of meant. I'm still trying to think how to explain it, but that's all there. Just like the bundles, that buyer of the flowers assumed it was what they saw, but it wasn't.
Yep.
It's up to them to ask the question. So yeah. So that's one there.
And another thing as well, Woganomics School of Woganomics 101. I think I'm repeating what you said actually, but because they are ultra professional in their negotiations, they don't appear to be. So they appear to be very casual in their approach, but they are super calculated because a prospective tenant or a prospective purchaser doesn't understand there may be 20 anchor points in a negotiation. Anyone who's watching, if you're thinking, what are we talking about? Well, number one anchor point's probably rent, and number two anchor point is probably
rent free.
How long the rent's for, how long the lease is. So most novice tenants 101 will just look at those 2 points, whereas that landlord, that Woganomics 101 landlord, will negotiate those 2 points, remember that he's got 18 more points up his sleeve, and then start playing those cards out towards the end of the negotiation. And the buyer is quite loose, or the tenant is quite loose on those last 18 points, and because they think they've got those first 2 points right. Yeah. And that's when he starts, like CPIs or increases. It's a big one, that could change the whole deal.
100%. Like I've had 19 out of those 18, to give you an idea, like I've had 17 of those 18 agreed and the deal does not go ahead. Like it's CPI, which is pretty low, 1.5 at the moment. But then someone may want 3 or 4%. So they are all deal breakers, but it's crazy that, as you said, some people are only focusing on those 1 or 2. So it's very smart, because when they're playing the long game, the difference between CPI and a 4%, that compounding is huge. Like it could be the difference on rent at, say, $100,000 lease. After 10 years, it could be the difference of it being, say, 120 to 150. Like it compounds. and then also in the value. But what's next, Mark? Next, Mark, would be some money's better than no money. Principle.
Oh yeah,
Throughout every deal.
big time. But I reckon we can probably wrap it up, Burge.
Yep.
We may Woganomics 101. If I think this is going to be a popular one, and we can always come back to it.
Yes,
but
because we have no comments, so I could just see no comments. So I apologise there.
Yeah, so we're really sorry about that, guys. But this is available on podcast in the Apple Store, and Samsung, and
Morning Tom Panos. I think you'll like this topic if you watch it. The Book of Woganomics.
Oh, look, it's a great topic, and it's we've been agents for collectively, Michael and I, for 35 years. My father was a real estate agent for 30 years. So it's 50, 60 years of real estate. We're drawing lines between Woganomics and what these guys, 101, and what we've noticed, between all of these guys and what all of these guys have got in common. Very, very, very interesting. So we've shared that today. Yeah, and look, is it the wrong thing or the right thing? Look, it seems to work for these guys. So I don't mind talking about Woganomics 101. I don't mind supporting Woganomics 101 because these guys have great families. They're character people. They're not in jail. They're strong family people. They do what they love. And then relating that back to property, they do it with force. They're like human bulldozers when it comes to investing. They're incredible guys, and then we just wanted to share what we see between these guys in the marketplace. So all good, mate. And again, I'm sorry guys if we've got comments there, and we've missed you. Bert the Camel's probably going to come back.
If you're on Facebook, you can see Bert. Shortly. The guys won't know what you're talking about, but watch us on Facebook. But we'll wrap it up. I think this has been a while.
On Facebook, it hasn't been 25 minutes. So take care, everyone. Have a great day. Hope you liked the Woganomics 101 session today.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
See
Bye.
ya.